Hi everyone, it's DannySchur, composer, producer, co-writer of the Stan movie musical. Welcome to another Musical Mondays. Today's episode of Musical Mondays is brought to you by our friends at Black Magic Design. The Stan movie musical has a huge history with BMD. In fact, it was the first major movie musical to be shot exclusively on Blackmagic cameras. It was shot on the Ursa Mini Pro 4.6 plus the Blackmagic Pocket 6K, which I'm actually shooting this on right now. If you're an aspiring filmmaker, you can watch the hundreds of videos on YouTube comparing the Pocket 4 and 6K to just about anything else, but just skip it. Trust me, you want this camera. You cannot go wrong, and the image quality is outstanding. So thank you to John Parento from Blackmagic Design in Hollywood for providing the 6K on which this episode is shot. Thanks very much. So remember, I'm speaking to you from Winnipeg, Canada, right in the center of the continent, home of the 1919 Winnipeg General Strike, against which the movie musical Stan is set. Just a quick history for those of you new to the channel. The musical premiered on stage in 2005 in Winnipeg. It was called Strike then. Jeff Goldblum actually saw that first production and inspired me to make the movie musical. The stage show was a hit all across Canada, and over the course of the years, we developed the movie musical adaptation. And in 2018, after years and years of prep, we were finally getting ready to shoot. So this segment is called How I Hooked a Star of Glee. It's a story about how sometimes when things are just meant to be, they're meant to be. And as much as I hooked a star of Glee, it was kind of a willing fish situation where the fish was like jumping into the boat going, take me, take me. It's a great story. Here it is. So in 2018, director Rob Adatui and I were talking casting for the lead character of Stefan Sokolowski, this working class, somewhat naive, recent Ukrainian immigrant. We were looking for a guy that could embody that beefy working class guy, a guy you wouldn't want to take on in a back alley fight, but also a sensitive actor and sympathetic guy who you could see the journey from working class guy to more educated working class hero. Oh, and did I mention this is a musical? So the actor would have to sing, to say nothing of needing to act in a Ukrainian accent. So no small order for any actor. Okay, and then next point, we're shooting in Canada where our government supports the production of Canadian films, both on a national basis with Telefilm Canada and on a provincial basis here locally with Manitoba Film and Music. Of course, the number one criteria of support is that the film be Canadian. And for a film to be Canadian, at least one of the stars has to be from Canada. We'd already cast two other Americans, the most excellent Greg Henry playing Mike Sokolowski and Laura Slade-Wiggins playing Rebecca Almazoff. And now our male star definitely had to be Canadian to fit with the Telefilm and Manitoba Film and Music rules. So there we are. The pressure's on to find a Canadian to star in our musical. We're sitting around the boardroom. This is me and my fellow producing partner, Jeff Peeler from Frantic Films in Winnipeg. We're sitting around the boardroom and I say, my God, I wish we could find a Canadian, ideally a Winnipegger, who starred in musicals, who could star in Stan. And Jeff Peeler just looks at me and says, well, how about Marshall Williams? And I said, well, what about him? And Jeff says, he's from Winnipeg. And you could have picked my jaw up off the floor. Of course, I knew Marshall Williams. He played Spencer Porter on Glee. I had no idea he was from Winnipeg. I've been a producer, composer in Winnipeg since 1984. I like to think I have my finger on the pulse of who comes from Winnipeg. Somehow, I totally missed that Marshall was from Winnipeg. By the end of that day, a deal was had. Marshall was going to be our Stefan Sokolowski. But here's the funnier part of the story about just how it was meant to be. Director Robert Atatui and I had already seen Marshall in a video audition. Marshall actually auditioned for the role of Davy, the racist returned army veteran. And it's a measure of Marshall's ability that he so embodied Davy that we didn't even recognize him in his audition. And then Rob and I look at each other and go, that was Marshall? That was it. We knew if he could do that with that role, he'd just be outstanding in the lead role. So no auditions, no nothing. It was a done deal by the end of the day. He was now making a move to be headquartered in Winnipeg. So not only was he available, he was mere miles from me at the moment. So of course this was a huge thing. Having a Winnipegger star in a major movie musical about an event which took place here, it was fantastic. So I'll just leave you with some words directly out of the horse's mouth. Here's Marshall talking about shooting in Winnipeg.
Oh, I think it's super cool. It's like you can only get so many times where you're going to shoot in your city, and let alone be in a movie that has such historical significance at the same time. And it feels like I'm shooting on location, but I'm actually at home. So when the week's done, you go home, which is really weird to me. But I love it. It's like it might be the only time it happens for me. So
if you enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe and click the notification button. Here's a playlist of interviews with Marshall Williams. Here's the music video, Saturday in June, that features Marshall. And here's a making of video that tells the story of how black magic cameras were so vital to the Stan movie musical. Thanks.